All right, welcome to the show, the Njoystic show, not the other shows. Probably not the show you meant to watch, but this is the show that you got. So,
tough shit.
all right, welcome to
Oh
the
no, don't do that
show,
shit
the
to me.
Njoystic. Yeah, you can't hear it, but it's fucking Twitch. Okay, we're good. Yeah, it's going to be weird because it cut out, and Twitch just has this like fetish for like, oh, you're streaming? Do you want us to play your stream through your speakers while you're streaming it? It's like, no, I don't fucking want you to do that. Because the way that this is set up, my speakers play back into that's like your recording. So I don't really want to hear what I say one time, let alone twice. And I assume that's true for everybody else. But anyway, as professional as we are with this show.
All right.
Half hour late and still nothing's going right. But again, welcome to a show. Video games. I didn't play a lot this week. It kind of the bitch like we were talking about before the show. Last week we had a ton of games to talk about, and then Twitch decides to like screw up the stream. I really didn't, but it made things more messy than normal. And then this week, it's like, okay, now I've played a little bit more of what I had talked about last week, but like nothing revolutionary to talk about.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I played more Persona 4. Kind of got into that pretty heavy last week. And I took on the second boss, like the second proper boss, and that's a lot of people say like that's kind of like the barrier of entry. Like if you can figure out how to beat him, you can play through all of Persona 4.
I was told that about a lot of like Dark Souls and Bloodborne bosses. Like, oh, if you got through that, you're fine. And then you'd get to the next boss and like hit a fucking wall. So I don't know.
But like, I was telling my brother about this, like Dark Souls and stuff. Like when I play other hard games, it's always about like input, you know, like I can do this. I just need to play better, you know, like then that's always the variable. In something like Persona, like you need to be smart enough and you kind of have to be a little bit lucky, and you have to, like I had to grind a little bit because I was probably under-leveled for the dungeon in the first place, and I was like skipping fights because fighting is kind of a pain in the ass in that game. If you like that was the thing that like by the end I was shocked that like the boss was so easy by the time I got to the level I needed to be at. But like regular enemies in that dungeon can just like you just have to be a little bit unlucky. So it's like, oh, I can kill this thing in one hit, and then you miss 3 hits in a row with the same character, and then like the enemies you're fighting use your weakness on you, and every time they hit you with a weakness, they get an extra turn.
Right. So
it's just like it's fucking like it is really obnoxiously hard at points. And bosses can do that too, but bosses always seem to have like, at least so far, they always seem to have like if you equip one persona that is like strong against something, you can pretty much, well, you can fight, you know, without getting knocked down too often or anything. I did like when I did fight him, I beat him on my second try, but like he got so fucking lucky. And I was so scared that I was going to lose because he just hit a critical hit on my entire party. So, like, you get hit a critical hit, it's like using a weakness, and then they get another attack, and then critical hit, another attack, critical hit, and then luckily they missed on, like, the last attack. But that shit sucks because you don't get that with bosses. They don't have, like a weakness like that gives you an extra move. Like some of the extra bosses do, but the main story ones, like they're weaker to things, but it doesn't knock them down or anything.
Right.
So they just exploit that shit against you. And it's like, I was telling my brother, like, you know, yeah, I've played some hard games, but this might be the hardest for me because it's so much of it is about luck. And because like what happens all the time is like, I talked about it last week where it was, it just seems like bosses will like have one fuck you attack they'll save towards the end of the fight, and then they'll beat you, and then they'll just use it liberally every time you fight them, like right from the get-go.
It's like, well, they forgot about it, and then they used it to beat you, and then they're smart. They're like, wait, that worked last time, so let's just spam that.
Yeah, and I'm hitting another thing with it. Like, I haven't played it in a couple of days because it's that thing of just like, it's stressful. You're always on a fucking schedule. You're always like, you have a limited time to do everything.
Yeah, like I was always amazed that those kids keep going to school with all this other shit going on. You'd be like,
you have to go to school. That's why you don't have enough time to do anything
but
else.
That's what I mean. Like, in real life, I think if I was like, oh, wait, I got to fight demons, fuck school. Like, school's important, but...
I would sleep the fuck in.
Right.
But, yeah, it's... Part of what's bothering me now, and the thing I think that's really... I am enjoying the game, and I do have a rhythm for it, and I like these characters, and I like doing all this, like, extra stuff. Like, I like the structure of, like, yeah, you go into the dungeon and that's, you know, like the main combat area, but the other half of the game is just sort of navigating this weird, like, high school detective life you lead.
Right.
And like balance your friends and stuff, because like, the stronger your relationships are, the more powerful your, personas are. And I like all that shit. But when you're on a timeline, like I was telling my brother, if there had to be a way to do this where I don't feel like I'm like missing out on shit all the time.
That's how I always felt, though, because you get, and it seemed like, from what I remember, I didn't play 4, I played 2, I think it was. But it's like, you have to balance all this stuff, but you have so many choices. It's like, well, today you can either go out with your friends and build that relationship, or go to work and build like this whatever stat. But you can only do one. But then, like, the next day comes along, and you think, well, the next day I can do it. You don't always get those opportunities, though. So,
no,
like,
sometimes it's like you're doing a story event, or sometimes like a fucking teacher like just comes up to you and is like, "Hey, I signed you up for another club because fuck you," and it's like that shit would be fine if you weren't on a constant timeline. And like, I understand. Like, the game kind of needs that tension of, like, you only have so long to do these dungeons and stuff. But I kind of wish, like, like, I just wish that, like, there wasn't, like, an end game that I know is coming. Because I was telling my brother, like, it's not even that I want to do everything. It's like, I want to know everybody who's going to be in my party. I want to do all their stuff as far as I can take them. I don't want to run out of time on a lot of this shit.
That's kind of how I imagine, like, I'll feel when I'm in my 70s, though. Like, I want to do this. I don't want to run out of time.
Yeah, but
it's a good analogy for life.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I want to have fun. Like, I'm playing Persona 4 because it's better than, like, high school life. By a mile. That's
what's weird, is how many games try to like recapture that, like the stress of having to balance like real life stuff and responsibility. It's like, I got that every day. Like,
I
just want to kill shit, like monsters and shit. Just
I want to kill shit and I want to talk to people. Right. And it's saying a lot. Like I honestly, I think the characters and interacting with them is more satisfying than something like Mass Effect, which was entirely built around that stuff. Because these characters are really interesting. Because they, like, the second dungeon, like, every time you're in a dungeon, it's been about, like, recruit. Like, the end goal is, like, to save somebody, and they usually end up joining your party. And the reason, and what's going on with them is they're having like some sort of internal crisis. Like, there's some part of themselves that they're not accepting. So in the second dungeon, it's this guy who's heavily hinted to be like closeted homosexual. And like, you think that's going to be like a really cheesy, cheap sort of like, oh, I'm gay now, and and that's like all he realizes and stuff, and it's just like making the character just revolve around his sexuality. And they actually take him into a much deeper place where he's like, this part of himself is not about sexuality, it's about acceptance and rejection, and how he made himself an outcast regardless of who he's attracted to. He's made himself an outcast from everyone because he's afraid of being rejected. And like they wrote the character really well, and like they make him like it's always like these. They always seem like these just anime archetypes, and they like I end up liking all of them a lot more than I thought I would, and they have a lot more depth to them than I thought they would. So I want to fucking do everything with them, and the game won't let me. So it's this kind of mixed bag of like, this game seems really cool. It's a shame that like the people who made it fucking hate you.
Well, the thing is, you can always replay it because it's only like 120 hours to beat, I think, on average. Maybe not that much, but it's a long fucking game. They all are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked, like I said, I only played Persona 2, and I only played part of the way through it, but I liked it a lot. 4 would be a good one to play, and 5 now. That's
my brother's playing 5 right now, and he's really digging it. It seems like they added a lot more shit to it, but they've also streamlined a lot of it so that like you're still on like deadlines and stuff, but like the deadlines are clearer.
Yeah, that was another thing I remember from 2 is like you never knew exactly how you knew your time was limited, but you never knew exactly like when the next thing was coming. So it's
yeah. Well, and just I've watched him play a little of it. Everything in that game looks cool. Like the menus are really active.
Oh yeah.
Like the transitions are slick as hell. Like when it's like go to this area, and then like your character like jumps down as like a shadow and then just darts, and then you're in the next area. And like they captured this really cool kind of comic style with everything. Like Persona 4 still has kind of a unique style, but it's obviously an older game, and I'm not playing like the golden version. I'm playing the classic PS2 version. But like these games always had a lot of style, but damn, with 5, it looks outstanding. And they also did something I kind of like where there's like, since your group is like they're called like the Phantom Thieves, you spend a lot of time focusing on a sort of stealth. It's not like, stay hidden, otherwise they get an advantage. It's like you can, instead of trying to like walk up, and this is a big problem I have with 4, enemies down a hallway, you have to walk up and hit them from behind to get an advantage. And if you don't do that, 90% of the time they're going to hit you and get the advantage for themselves. And it doesn't matter how they hit you. If they hit you, you're fucked.
Which makes sense. You have to hit them from behind, but they can hit you anywhere.
Yeah. And some of these enemies are so fucking tricky to like actually hit from behind. They turn around too quick, and you usually whiff and then you get hit. In this, you can take cover and then ambush an enemy. And as long as you're not reckless, as long as you're not trying to like go too fast through a particular area, you can you're jumping across, balconies and stuff, and then you're ducking behind cover, and then you're like jumping and ambushing the enemy and starting the fight. I think that's a pretty cool solution to a frustrating problem that was in 4. So, I think everything about that game looks pretty cool. I have no idea when I'm going to want to play it after I'm done with 4, because from what I've heard, 4 is incredibly long. I think I'm at the 20-hour mark, and like I said, I'm only 2 dungeons in. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's pretty fucked.
Not a quick game.
No. I've also been streaming Alan Wake.
Yes.
And
when I'm not awake, ironically, but that's all right.
Well, I mean, nobody was awake for last night's. That was I got home from a concert, which I should really talk about because it was an interesting one.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
I know
the Gogster.
That's what us in the fan club call her.
Yeah, but I will say this for Alan Wake, because somebody came into my chat and was like, I like the atmosphere of this game. Like, why are you shitting on it the whole time? And I'm just like, there are moments that game is kind of like it was surprisingly good. Like there was a chase sequence last night that was pretty good. And I'm finding I'm not hating it as much as I was the first time I played it because, one, my expectations were lower. But also playing on a mouse makes, like, because all the enemies in that game have one strategy, which is just dart behind you and make it, like, because you're too slow to turn around. But if you have a mouse, you can pretty much keep everyone kind of corralled and in the range of your flashlight. It's kind of rare when anyone actually does get behind you. So it is better, but I was like trying to explain to him, it's like you have these moments, but even then, like there's just, it gets interrupted with Alan Wake going on about Stephen King, and like the writing is not good and nobody shuts up in this game. Like it's, to me, where I'm at with it at this point is that it is a particularly enjoyable bad game. In that, like, I don't think it does anything particularly well, but it's, like I said, kind of when I first started streaming it, like, it's interesting enough that I think people should play it. Like, it'll keep your attention.
$3 or whatever it was, right before it went off.
And I think it's totally worth that.
Yeah, well, a lot of games are for, I mean,
yeah. I think there are worse games that are more expensive for sure.
Right.
So I've been playing that. There's been no real schedule to those streams. It's just been kind of when I've been up for it. It's usually been every other day, but we've had back-to-back streams the last 2 days. So
back-to-back.
Yep.
I don't know why I said it like that. It sounded like something that needed to be like advertised, kind of like the monster truck rallies. Back-to-back streams, but you missed them because they were yesterday.
Yeah. So other than that, I'm back into Overwatch.
Yeah, I saw that too, and it's funny because it's like today, it's the anniversary event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you pause to take a drink?
Yes.
I can't see, so all right. Because I was like, that's the anniversary event, right? Yeah.
I was just confirming that's like that it had started. Because I saw him advertising it Monday, but I didn't know if it was live yet or not. I thought it was.
Yeah, I think it started. Monday or Tuesday, whatever it was. But yeah, today after not playing for months, going back to Overwatch is pretty jolting. So I threw myself into the thresher that is random heroes, because you gotta, like, even if you're losing, you gotta get a feel back for all the characters you played.
And I think it kind of helps though from you're also going up against people that are a little off balance too, because they're getting random heroes. So it gives you that. It forces you to relearn or to get better acquainted with all the characters, but at the same time, you're not going up against somebody that's played 400 hours of Hanzo.
Right. And, it gets you kind of re-familiar with the characters, and the maps and stuff, because they're like, I haven't played until today. I hadn't played like the Oasis map they added at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I think it's a kind of shitty map.
Yeah, but, I didn't like it.
There's too much verticality in it. And not like for you. I mean, like the buildings are just too tall. The walls are too tall. And the fucking ice cream truck is going to play this goddamn song.
I like it. But now we're going to get a copyright strike. It'll be hilarious. Like,
I should copyright strike them.
That's true.
Fucking just go out there, wave them down like, yeah, you can't play that song in this neighborhood. That's my song. Trademark.
We've talked about it before. This is, of course, not Overwatch related, but ice cream truck related. Like, how cool would it be to have an ice cream truck that plays like Snoop Dogg instead? Like something like completely unexpected. Not that that's my taste in music, but I think that would be, if I was an ice cream truck driver, it would be like, because that'd just be so perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, Overwatch. It's so, like, today was the first day I kind of had my like breakthrough, and I felt like, all right, I'm playing the way I should be again. It was weird. Like the first day, like anytime I had Hanzo, it's like I haven't missed a beat. The The one that I'm kind of lost on now is like, and I don't know if I can get it back, is Soldier. Like I can't. Everyone is like, he's the easiest DPS, and like to me, it's just like I'm not doing any fucking damage.
See, he was like that when I was still learning characters. If I needed to fall back on like an easy mode one, it would be him. And it's one of those that you could play him, and you're not normally going to play Soldier and be the standout, but normally he'd be good. You could be easy enough that you would hold your own, and contribute. But the more, like, the better I got at other heroes, the worse I got at Soldier for some reason. I don't know if it's because you like overthinking Soldier now because I know the other characters too well.
I think they modified him a little bit. Like, I think when I got hot with him, they boosted his either his damage or his accuracy.
Yeah, they keep
from a certain
messing
distance.
with like his spread and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and right now it feels like I don't hit shit because he was like the go-to if you had like a Pharah problem.
Right.
And now I like if there's a Pharah and I get Soldier, it's like, well, sorry guys, I can't hit her. She's always, if she flies at all, she is always too far away for me to like mow her down. And before, I remember it was just like and she would drop. So I don't know if they changed it. I don't know if I just lost my touch with it. What's scaring me a little bit though is how good I've been with Zarya. I have fucking dominated with Zarya every time I've gotten her. Like, people just, like, the only time I died with her was when the other team, like, got 2 Zaryas, because it's random heroes, and 2 Lucios to keep them healed. And then, like, and I'm the only Zarya, I'm not winning that fight. Every other time, it's like I've completely held the other team off.
Well, that's good, because that's what always seemed to happen to us when we were fighting Zarya. But I've had very few. I've had a couple good matches as her, but very few.
It's been pretty consistent, and I wouldn't bring her into like competitive mode where I'm at with her. But if I could be good with Zarya, that would almost like open up a whole new world for me in terms of tanks. Like, because I just, before we started the show, I just had an awesome Reinhardt game, so I haven't lost a step with that. Diva is still, regardless of how they changed her, like, I'm still pretty good with her.
Yeah.
And then, like, I'm a little better now with McCree than I was Soldier, but that's kind of the one thing I'm losing out on is I don't really have, like, a go-to DPS, and if I can't play Soldier. But, I'm not jumping into competitive again. If I ever do, it won't be for a while. But, I'm now out of random heroes, and I'm just doing some quick play and, playing with people who are a little more serious, not usually enough, but they are actually, some people are trying to think of team comp and quick play, so. But it's pretty fun, and I got a loot box that actually had a fucking thing in it, so we're already off to a better start than that winter event.
Yeah, that's the thing is these skins for the anniversary event are pretty cool.
I just want the Hanzo one.
Yeah, and it's pretty. I would be most interested in the Soldier one because, in my opinion, it's the first cool Soldier skin that they've ever had. Like,
I think it's better than those other skins. I still think it's kind of lame.
Oh, compared to the other ones, yeah, but it's still it's the best one that would be available for him now at this point.
If they just like gave him like a cool cyborg helmet or something instead of like the visor and like.
I liked your idea with like the old man sweater and slippers, like maybe the.
Well, that should have been his Halloween one.
Yeah, pants up to his like nipples.
Right, and he just has like instead of a gun, a bowl of candy.
Yeah, or one of those walkers, like the guy from Up.
Right, but yeah, it's. I'm glad I can still enjoy the game after all that time off.
I'm glad you can too. I saw those skins and I'm like, man, those are cool. I've got zero desire to play. Like I still, like, I'm completely okay with as cool as some of the skins are, just not even trying because I just don't feel like playing it. And I'm not saying it's bad or I'll never go back to it, but I'm just still at a point where it's not what I want to play right now.
I think like just after when I think of everything else I have available to me to play, like Overwatch is suddenly in this weird position where that's like the least stressful. And
well, that's that's
shit, but
sure, but that's exactly why like I got stuck on it for as long as I did, because you don't have to. When you say you yell and sound, I was like, I'd get mad, but it's not a stressful mad. It's a competitive mad. It's the same as like if you're playing basketball or football or something.
Like there's adrenaline and then there's anxiety.
Right.
And like some games cause more anxiety for me than adrenaline.
And then some games create both, and they can call those Soulsborne. But
right. I don't even get that anxious about Souls games anymore. I get a little more anxious about like Souls like things that aren't from.
Yeah.
But if you tell me it's a Dark Souls game or a Bloodborne game, it's like I can.
Well,
I'm just so like numb to like the initial like tensions and stuff. Like to me now, it's just all part of the process.
Yeah, that's what's so cool, and that's what was cool about getting into Bloodborne. After, even though it's so different, I don't want to say so different, but it is. It's more fast-paced, offensive, oriented, but still, like, we've played enough of it now, it's still kind of imposing, and it's still a little bit of that, but you feel competent in it, so you don't have, when you're first starting to play Souls, like, the first time you fire it up and don't get anywhere, then you're looking at it, and you're just like, fuck, like, no. So, yeah, it can be stressful. I took, like, a 3-week break off of Bloodborne right in the middle, but it's a different kind of stress than a lot of other games. So
yeah, but that's pretty much been it for me. I can't honestly think of anything else I've been playing. Alan Wake's going to keep me busy as far as streams go for a while, because there are 2 DLCs with that, and then I'm going to probably play American Nightmare, because it actually is a little bit better from what I remember. But yeah, but I was also thinking about, like, I don't want to play Alan Wake that often, so I was thinking about like bringing back some Overwatch streams just to change things up, and
I know, I almost
watch me fuck around.
As much as I literally just got done saying I have no desire to play Overwatch, I almost said let's do an Overwatch stream, and that'd be a little different because it's like
it's a show. Yeah.
But
it's a production.
Right.
We should, though, because I need loot crates, and you playing with me is one, more fun.
Yeah.
2, I get them faster.
Yeah, that's true.
So
maybe we'll do that. I imagine that this event goes on at least for another week or so. Usually it's about a month, right?
They have it on a thing. God damn it. I hate when they replace their previous ad with a fucking video. I think it's like June 6th or something.
Yeah,
so it's about 2 weeks.
And a half, too. Yeah, we'll have to do that. But
yeah, I mean, I'll be playing it beyond that probably. It's been long enough that I'm remembering why I liked it.
Yeah, no, that's the only problem. I'd be like, oh, we'll do it just for the stream. I don't really want to get back into it. Then I'll instantly be like back into it. But
yeah, I mean the stress should be gone, because this last season is ending, so it'll take them a little while to rev the next one back up.
Well, and I don't really even care about that so much. That's what helps, is when you've been away from it. It's like, oh, I'm not like so hung up on SR and rank and that kind of stuff. But
what I was kind of thinking about with that game, though, is that I've now easily spent more hours just watching good Overwatch players stream it. Like way more than I've actually played the game myself,
really?
And I put a lot of fucking hours into it.
Yeah, that's.
But I watch people play. I watch people play Overwatch all the time.
I didn't know
go
that.
to bed with it on.
I've learned something about you.
It's interesting to me, like watching really good people play Overwatch, and whether they're winning or losing.
First-person shooter streams. That's like that's one of the worst things for me to watch. I don't usually get into them.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a weird line.
Now, I will say, when Blizzard televised, and they might have done it again since, but there was for the Heroes of the Storm, they called it Heroes of the Dorm, but they had the university tournament. I think it was. It might have just been the Overwatch tournament, but I think they were schools, and they televised it. That was fun to watch. I like that when you get hosts and stuff, commentators and something like that. I enjoy those. I still it's weird. I still like the MOBA, watching those tournaments more, again, with the commentators, not just like individual streamers. But now that might have changed too, though, because that was back when I was really into Heroes of the Storm, and never played Dota or really League of Legends. It was really just Heroes of the Storm. But I don't know. Any game that you play is much more fun to watch. That was a stupidly broad comment, but it always makes it interesting when you're watching a game that you play a lot because you're getting stuff out of it.
Yeah, and like not even necessarily that. Like these people are so good, and the people they play with are so good. Like I know that like no matter how much I play Overwatch, I could dedicate my life to it. I probably won't reach their level,
right?
Because I mechanically I don't have those motor skills that they do.
I know that's what's frustrating.
These are people who just they condition themselves for years to just play shooters really well, and I will not do that.
Add into it, I'm 35, and they say that those motor skills, like physically, like actually scientifically, like you start losing that ability. Probably
maybe that's why there aren't very many like mid-30s esports people.
And it doesn't mean you can't be good at it. You can still be amazing at it. But if there's actual physiological reactionary things going into it, I mean, the same reason you don't see a lot of 50-year-old baseball players. But
well, news to me. A lot of baseball players I see are like, really, they're not 50.
Well, you do watch the Athletics, but
the Athletics look young compared to some fucking teams. Jesus, I can't believe Pujols is still playing.
Yeah, that's why I say not very many 50-year-olds. There's some that I think are, but anyway.
I don't know what he's at.
No, that's just wait till you get to that point where you see an athlete, you're like, God, this guy's ancient, and you look it up, you're like, oh, he's my age.
No, that shit already happens,
Yeah.
And it's worse because I'm like, oh, cool, we drafted these guys the Eagles drafted these people. They're all fucking like 4 years younger than me, and it's like it sucks. It's like, goddamn, like I could have been anything, and I'm this.
Well, it makes you realize that like there was never any chance that I would be a professional athlete, but it's like now there's literally physically no chance. Like you've actually missed that boat. But
there's something about like you were never actually going to do it for whatever reason, but when the door is actually shut to you, then it's like this kind of just depressing, like sobering, like well, fuck, I guess I'm gonna write something. Fuck,
right? Because that's what you do when you can't like.
I need a dream. I don't have one anymore. Because that's an important coping thing growing up, is that like your life's ahead of you, and it's like, well, if I really gave it my all, I could be that thing, and then like when you're 25, you as Dylan Moran, who's a comedian, would say, you open the door to that potential and you realize that it's just a fat guy eating crisps. Yeah, so that's definitely where we're at in 2017 mentally. But anyway, what have you played?
Literally, the only thing that I fired up since we talked last week is the Surge, and played it a few times. I got a little farther, and the more I play it, the less like enchanted by it I am. Like it's Souls-like ish. I am getting already. I'm only like to the second area. I did beat the first boss, but just everything just seems so repetitive and samey. It's like all the you get different enemies. Like now there's like big robot dogs, and I'm starting to come across more because it's all the first level is all mostly like flying drones and like workers like you that are like half, they're half machine, half people. But they seem to have like lost their minds or whatever. They're basically turned to like hollow, if you want to keep using the Souls comparison. And now the area I'm at also has some that have more militarized type mech gear, and I can't tell if they're also like hollow or if they're just like trying to contain that, because it does have a mystery to the story. Like, you don't know what's going on at all at this point. But it's like every time you get to, I got to the new area and it's like, oh, there's these new enemies, and it's just like, oh, these ones can one shot kill me, but like it's still just dodge, attack, and
well, I mean, like that was enemy variety was I would argue kind of the Achilles heel of Neo, and I think Neo is a really cool game. It's really fun, and I recommend it, but like it's so long and you fight the same thing so often. And it's one of the things that like maybe you can't tell a story the way From can with these worlds, doing it through item description and sort of community effort to figure out what type of tale this world is trying to spin. But one thing you can do, and one thing you should really look at if you are going to make that type of game, is how important enemy variety was to the Souls games and Bloodborne. Because like what you actually do to get around in a Souls game is actually not that thrilling. You're just running around,
right? And
eventually you get the ability to warp around. But what you do along the way is fight things. So if you're fighting the same thing, like Neo added a lot of shit that you could sort of make your own variation and stuff that would kind of keep it fresh, but you're still fighting the same thing. And if you just want to progress, it's what you're saying. It's, dodge, hit twice, dodge, hit 3 times, stun, kill.
Right.
You just get a rhythm for all the enemies. And that's the thing about Dark Souls is like almost every area has like at least 5 new enemies that you can't handle the same way.
Right.
You have to learn to deal with them. And something like Neo, and it sounds like a little bit like the Surge, is like it'll just sort of be like, well, how about you fight 2 of them?
Right. Exactly. Or this one hits harder, and this one moves a little faster, and it's like, okay. And so the Surge really, really suffers from. Like, it's one of those games where you look at it in screenshots or in the cinematics, and it's got that real cool style, and everything looks pretty detailed, and you're almost like the loader machine from Alien that Sigourney Weaver gets in, but it's actually like bolted to your skeleton, and that's kind of cool. But in reality, the way it plays out is everything. It's like, oh, this thing has a slightly different weapon, but you can barely tell because they're lunging at you to begin with. And like it just nothing has any character to it. It's a problem that I have with a lot of games that where you're, and it tends to be more like arcadey type games, but where you play as like a spaceship instead of a character. Something like what I'm getting at is like where the things end up being inanimate objects and they don't have any personality. Now I've seen good design where you can take a technically inanimate object or one. Like Rocket League with the cars even kind of managed to give those cars personality, even though they're not characters. But more often than not, you just end up with these. It's like, oh, this is a robot. Like,
right.
And then
and even robots can like be given personality.
Oh, sure. Look at Claptrap or BB-8 from Star Wars or something like that. Like BB-8.
Like I didn't like the game, but even like something like Grow Home, you play as a robot and all he does is like beep and boop, but he's
got a
like he's a cool character.
Yeah.
But
I that like any sense of personality really seems to be lacking in the Surge. And then when there are like cutscenes, because you do meet other characters or converse with other characters, and I think it's weird because there's not one formula obviously for game. We both fight against that all the time, where people say, "Oh, you should always do this or should always do that," and that's never true. But it really, really, really makes me appreciate the silent protagonists in Soulsborne. Because
I feel like silent protagonists in general get a bad rap.
Well, they can be done bad.
I think they are. Well, they can be, but I think a lot of games that did them well, like people still were like, "Where's the voice acting?" Like Samus, I think is a much more interesting character when she's just sort of the silent badass bounty hunter like she was in the Metroid Prime games. And then they're like, well, we'll tell a real story with her. And then they made Other M, and voice acting wasn't the worst part of that game, but it wasn't good, and it can detract way more than just like. And then just let the world tell a story.
And then
like, you don't
the
need
Surge, it really, because it's part of the problem is probably me. I literally jumped into the Surge like the day after finishing Bloodborne, so
yeah, that's probably rough.
Yeah, I mean that's like. Also, like, going to Bobby Flay's Mesa Grill and then going to McDonald's and being like, "Oh, this burger sucks." It's like, well, normally I would like it, but.
Right, and I did the reverse. I played Neo, and then I jumped into the Dark Souls 3 DLC, and so that's even though there's some sort of a shift in style there, like it's an upward
shift. Right. So I don't know. That might be part of it, but like the dialogues in it two problems. The dialogue itself is written. It's just really corny, and I don't know that it's not that. It could be, but it doesn't come across as intentionally corny. It just comes across as like me and you trying to write a script in 3 days. And then the voice acting on top of it is just not very good. Right. So when you have
if we have 3 days, that would be a great script.
Well, it's like, for instance, the game opens with like, well, you go into this company, you're a paraplegic, but they have these robot exoskeletons that you sign up for the job because they'd allow you to walk again. And then you go into the surgery and everything seems, everything's a little creepy, but it seems up and up. And then I don't know if you've watched the opening cinematic, but they like have you strapped to the chair and like the machines are getting ready to drill things. It's like anesthetic administered, and your guy's like, what? And
I feel it. Hey, wait, I feel this.
Yeah, and it just fucking starts drilling shit into him while he's completely like conscious, and then you black out.
I think that was a really cool opening.
Oh yeah, and then the real reveal, and I'm going to ruin this for anybody that's watching this that hasn't seen it or played it yet, but I loved the very, very beginning. You're on the train, and it's like, oh, come to like Mecha whatever the fuck the name of the company is, and where we're changing the world and blah blah blah, and then the train stops, and you think you're just sitting in a chair on the bus, and then your guy like wheels his chair out, and you're like, oh shit, I'm in a wheelchair. Like that was kind of a cool reveal.
Yeah.
But then, like, the next thing you black out, and then you wake up, and, like, you're being literally dragged out to a dump to be, like, torn apart and disposed. And, of course, you fight off the things that are trying to do that to you. But, like, the first person you meet, you're just like, what is going on here? It's like, I don't think that's how I would say that if I just, like, had a robot thing drilled into my conscious body, and then they threw me away.
Dude, what the fuck?
Right. Yeah. Well, and it completely ignores like the first person you come across is like there's the little flying drones, and then you come across one of these like hollowed mech guys that are trying to kill you, and you're not like, what the fuck? You're just like, yep, that's normal. I'll just fight it. And then when you meet a person, you're just like, who are you? What's going on here? Like, really? So like none of it feels genuine or deep. And like I said, it's a perfectly good game. I don't want to say all this like don't play it, but I really think the biggest problem is going from a masterpiece to this.
I mean, like they From kind of did a good job with the silent protagonist thing, because it lets the other characters kind of like I mean, on one hand, there is a bit of that what the fuck is going on, but every character sort of explains like, oh, you're lost, are you? Well, you know what? Everything will be revealed.
It gives you, and it gives you this like always ominous, creepy feeling that everybody else in the world knows what's going on, but nobody's really telling you. And I like that they do the silent protagonist in those games differently than like, I don't know. It's been a while since I played a Zelda game, but they don't act like you respond. It's like they get that you're silent and not going to say anything. It's almost like they know you can't. But they're going to talk to you anyway. Like,
yeah.
And I think a couple of them like wait for your answer. They'll be like, "Oh, so what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm not going to say," or something like that.
Usually but they like agreeing to do something or joining a covenant or some shit like that. Like you do have dialogue options in that respect, but like for the most part, letting the inhabitants of the world tell the story of the world is better than like, and this is a huge problem with Alan Wake, is that you can't like walk 2 feet without him being, this Coke can reminded me of a summer from where I was riding, and I haven't ridden in 2 years now, and I hate Coke now. That's not a quote, obviously, but it's shit like that.
Yeah, it's where it's like overly exposed. Like,
yeah, no game needs that.
No, well, I would say me and you, but that's one of my huge fucking pet peeves with movies. Like, I've pointed that out all the time when maybe they'll do like the clever callback where at the beginning, we'll use your Coke example where somebody's like, oh man, I always love a good Coke. And then at the end of the movie, they kill the aliens. It's like, oh, what would you like? And it's like, oh, what are you going to do now? And it's like, have a Coke. And then you're like, oh, as a viewer, you connect that and you're like, oh, haha. And then a good movie would leave it as something like that. And then bad movies, which is more often than not, then the other character's like, oh, because you said you like Coke. Like, they have to like literally.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Still your favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, give the gamer some credit to like put the story together in their own head.
That was also kind of the problem with DMC, I think, the Ninja Theory Devil May Cry game, where it was just saying so much of that ending I hated was just because characters would not shut the fuck up, and and it wasn't necessarily exposition; it's just like forced drama that made no sense to the plot, where like Dante's having an identity crisis at the end, and the only thing that can make him feel better is a hot chick and touching her ass, because, being a fucking creep is a good ending to a fucking Devil May Cry game. That's all those games were, right?
Dante's quest to touch a hot chick's ass.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. And what sucks about that ending is like it tainted everything else I liked about that game. Like, that game is not bad. I thought they did a pretty good job. It wasn't as good as like my favorites of the series, but they did an all right job. But I can't think about it, and I can't play it without thinking about that fucking ending.
Now I'm hoping that they said the line like, "This Dante's Inferno was his burning loins."
That would be better than the like cheesy cliche. You're Dante, nothing more, nothing less. And then they walk off, and he touches her ass, and she giggles because, yeah. And then like, what the fuck?
Why aren't we writing video games? I think we could do it. Like, they'd suck, but they'd be good suck at least. Like, because you're good enough. You'd make them serious, but I'd have to like throw in those retarded lines, like I just said. Like, it would have to be.
I wouldn't make them serious. I can't write anything serious anymore. I can't write anything anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's why we don't write games. We'd be like, okay, so scene 1. Fuck, let's play some Overwatch.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's just record ourselves playing Overwatch, and if any good ideas come, we'll flip back to it.
But anyway, yeah, I haven't. I played some more of the Surge. I have other things that like I'm in the middle of, but I just haven't touched them since we last talked. I don't know. Maybe I did. Or maybe we didn't get to it. Did I talk about the Sexy Brutale last week?
Yeah,
I think I did. Yeah,
you weren't digging it very much.
Yeah. Okay. So I did talk about that. But I've got that. I still haven't played any more Ukulele. I've got Edith Finch. Edith Finch and Little Nightmares, which are both fantastic, and they're both pretty short. I was thinking about that today. I'm like, those are both short enough games. I need to sit down and finish those.
Those both just looked like games that I would be done in. And I could probably do them both in a day,
a night or two. So there's all that, and then of course Uncharted 4. I might have played a little bit more of that. I think I did, because I'm to like where they're at now, Madagascar or something. I just got to the big city, like where right after they do the thing that like I like it. I don't mind when like video games follow movie tropes when they're like doing it in a way that's like not supposed to be like, oh, we're ultra serious, we're writing Citizen Kane here. I talked about it with Until Dawn, but where they're like, oh, there's two things that could be in two places, so let's split up. And it's like, there's 400 soldiers everywhere, and we can barely do this together, but okay. Like, you're like, I can already see where that's going, but like, it doesn't bother me in something like Uncharted, because it's like, it's following that corny Indiana Jones type feel.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's what they always have kind of been about, and that's why they kind of get a pass on that type of shit.
Well, sure, because it's not like they're doing it aloofly.
Right.
But chapter-wise, I think I'm like halfway through that game.
Yeah.
gameplay wise, it tends to like most games, and I don't know for it because but most games you look at and it's like 20 chapters and you're like, I'm on chapter 10, I'm halfway through. You're not really, because like the further you get into a game, a lot of times the longer the individual chapters get. But just number wise, I'm halfway through. So there's that. But there's other news in the world of video games.
Game's pretty cool. Yeah. Far Cry 5 has gotten more shit out, and I wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, I saw the well, they had the teaser that I didn't even realize was live action because I watched it in like the little tweet deck thumbnail. Yeah.
Right.
But they had the teaser, and I'm like, well, that's kind of cool because it's a direction I didn't expect. So that always gets me more interested than like if they went back to like, welcome back to the jungle, or something like that.
I think bringing it to an American setting I think that is an interesting location for a Far Cry game at this point, because it's like, all right, you've done Africa, you've done Asia, you've done like, tropics.
You've done cavemen.
Yeah, you've done cavemen now. So like going to America and kind of, and it totally is like trying to, pick up on kind of the momentum of, kind of our current culture a little bit. And why the fuck not? We've used every other culture for Far Cry games.
Well, that's when I saw the stuff today with like they had the art reveal with the antagonists, just like they did with
which they did in 4 and 3, Yeah,
and to be honest, the antagonist looks like they just took those other ones and made them American. Like they have a very set style that they go for bad guys in Far Cry. Like the slicked back hair,
in terms of like presentation.
Yeah.
But I mean, Far Cry 3, it was just like a bald kind of pirate dude. Yeah. But I mean, like they do unique things with their their personalities, at least. Like I can give them that. The biggest problem with Far Cry 3 was that Voss was not the main villain at the end. Like he was only the main villain for half the game, and he was the best part of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that would have made me mad because he was the thing that was so interesting about that game during like the reveals and the teases and stuff.
And then they go to kind of the more typical shithead villain. And then 4, I haven't played yet, but I've heard that the villain in that is also pretty good. 4 or not 4, Primal, I don't think if there is a villain, it's just Bad Caveman.
Yeah.
And that's probably his name.
Oonga Boonga.
And that's why it's so easy. It was so easy for me to bounce off Far Cry Primal. It's just like, and it was something I was worried about with that game. When you try to make a game set in that time period, is like it's so easy to make everyone kind of bland, and like there's no, like you don't develop any connection to that world.
But they could. Kind of
they could have, but it's hard.
Easy to, yeah.
But from what I don't think they did.
From what I've seen of 5, like the live action trailer, it's like rural. Well, it's Montana, but it kind of is going for that like almost. Everybody keeps saying, shit. I don't know. I forget what comparisons it's getting. I think it reminds me kind of like Resident Evil 7, except not monster, like real people, but like that cultish, like backwoods, right?
But in some ways a horror game, because that is horrifying. And the thing that got my fucking dander up, I understand that there's some controversy or people complain. That's the part I missed. Controversy. I saw one, like there's this account I follow that, like it's like a joke video game review account.
Yeah.
But you can't even follow an account like that without getting like roped into like political discussion and shit. And this shit kind of pissed me off. Because when Far Cry 4 came out and that art came out, I remember how ridiculous I thought everyone was being about like, well, that's offensive. And it's like, he's the bad guy. He's supposed to like do sick shit,
right?
Like give a guy a grenade and make him hold it and pray, he's
a psychopath, and that's what they're painting.
Right. And I thought it was just kind of ridiculous, like how people were like, you know, this represents, you know, whatever I don't remember what they were saying.
Yeah,
I
now I try to forget
with,
because it had something to do with like race and his.
Well, they said
design.
that the villain looks more American.
Oh yeah,
so it looks like the American keeping like Asian people down.
Yeah, that's what.
But the villain is just a really rich Asian person,
right?
Like he's a dictator. You know, so it's.
Either way, though, even if he was American trying to keep Asian people as slaves, he's the bad guy. Right. That's the point. They're not glorifying what he does; they're making him bad. But anyway, that's the old controversy.
That was the old controversy, and my position on that, you know, if you disagree, that's totally fair. I argued with a friend of ours. I haven't talked to him in a little while on Twitter, but I remember we were up for hours on Twitter arguing about this. And I was getting pretty pissed, but you know, we were still fine by the end of it.
Yeah.
You know, and so like, I understand like that shit's going to affect people differently, but to me, it just seems superficial and ridiculous. Not as ridiculous as this, where the people who are on my side on the Far Cry 4 thing and saying like, you guys are overreacting. It's not a big deal. You know, you're being deliberately superficial about something. Like, it's a fictional bad guy. It's supposed to trouble you.
Right.
It's supposed to be an unsettling image. And now they're looking at this and they're saying like, oh, so just because anybody who has a different opinion in America is Nazi. And it's like,
I knew that would be the complaint because we can use every other culture and every other like stereotype for bad guy, but heaven forbid we explore ourselves at all. Like,
what is so rich about it is these are the fuckers who are always like, oh, you precious snowflake.
Well, yeah,
those
are the most easily offended people, are the ones.
Yeah, and it's like you. Why are you so quick to associate your own position with Nazis? Like, these are fictional Nazis.
That's one thing that people point out all the time when you have something like this. And you instantly say, you're coming after me. Well, that should tell you something about your views. Like, if you're instantly identifying with it, well...
Yeah, and I don't know if this joke account was, like, if he was, like he was deliberately being, like, sarcastic about it or not, and that's why I deleted my tweets, because, like, he might have just been, like, trying to make a joke, and I heard it wrong. Because I didn't mean to make it a reply to him, because I've seen other people genuinely have that sentiment. But it's just that thing of like your whole existence. Like, there's people right now who politically their whole existence is to just be a fucking troll and to just like, oh, you feel things about a thing. Well, you're a fucking snowflake. You're a baby. You're a cuck. And then like, but they, like you said, they are the fastest people to get fucking triggered by stupid bullshit.
Right.
It like, how the fuck can you see a picture of fictional video game Nazis eating at a table and one, identify with them, and two, like have the nerve to like complain that it's offensive to you after all the bitching you have? Those are this fucking PC culture. I can't say anything. And it's like, but they can't even like draw an antagonist for their video game without you complaining about it. Like, nobody sees the fucking like the complete hypocrisy there.
Well, and that's what's funny too, because I saw the picture and I didn't like get to study it, and I don't know, is there like actual like Nazi references, or is it just kind of the white guys
on the flag is like, instead of the stars on the American flag, it's not like the Nazi symbol, but like the white supremacist like cross, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I haven't looked that close at the image, but I think that's what people were complaining about. Other than that, like it's a fucking murderous cult.
Well, that's the thing. I saw it, and the first thing I thought it was like Jim Jones, or like a lot of these, like the Waco compounds.
Which interests me way more.
Well, honestly. And it's funny too that people would get offended by it then. Anybody, it's not funny because I knew people. Everybody gets offended by everything, but this is one. Like, out of all the other ones, we're drawing off of like media cliche villain like ideals, this one immediately to me recalled images of things that have actually fucking happened in our country, which made it very much more interesting. And then people are like, oh, well, you're going to cast these people as bad guys again? It's like, yeah, they're bad.
Yeah.
That's like saying I'm sick of child molesters being portrayed as bad. It's like, well, they are. Like, it's inarguably
a sympathetic child molester game.
Right.
I don't know what people fucking want. And you knew you had to know it was coming.
That's what I say. I saw that image, and even before I saw that people were, and like I said, I haven't seen any actual complaints, but I've seen a few like just murmurs of it. I was busy today, so I didn't spend as much time on Twitter as I normally do. But as soon as I saw the image, I had a feeling that those kind of discussions were going to be pretty quick behind. And then as Dan Amrich, he's a PR, I think, for Activision, which is he deserves a medal for what he puts up with. But it's like he said, it's the same thing what we all said back with Far Cry 3 when that shit was exploding. It's like, they haven't fucking showed us anything yet. We have no idea what the premise is. I mean, you can draw inferences, but
how fucked up it would be you play as them.
Yeah, then all of a sudden these people be like, yeah, you can't fucking everybody buy Far Cry 5. But
they're heroes.
Well, and it's funny to me because I'm picturing people being like, I'm tired of the people portraying these hillbilly rednecks with machine guns as crazy lunatics. It's like, you are. Like, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my stance on gun control is not super strict.
Crazy lunatics, you're probably one of them.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like a pretty good
like
rule
if your Facebook profile picture is you in a sleeveless flannel shirt holding up an M16 and a Confederate flag, you're who we're talking about. But
right,
whatever.
Yeah,
it's like the politician down south that. Of course, the big thing down there right now is a lot of places are tearing down their Confederate monuments finally. A lot of places aren't, but a lot of places are. And there was like a governor or something that's like, oh, these people that are pulling down these monuments should be lynched. And it's like, yeah, you're making our case for us. Thank you. Like, if you can't make your argument without recalling racist murders in the streets, like I get that you can lynch people that doesn't have to do with race, but it's kind of one of those things that over time has become associated with a particular type of, hate crime.
Right.
So if that's still your go-to threat, that you're proving why these things are bad.
Yeah, it's a fucked up time to be alive, really, because it's like shit that I was reading about in school growing up. And you like while you're reading it, you're like, well, that was terrible. I'm glad we're past that. Yeah, because like getting a resurgence and people like
it shows you that it's like been, I don't know. A lot of people will point out and be like, see, this never, because a lot of it I think is on like me and you being in the position where we can feel like it's gone away. And I don't know that obviously it never has, but they were a little bit underground and now they're like emboldened to like, so let's come back out. And you're like, wait, what?
I mean, like a lot of stuff never really goes away, but like, we'll do the, not even, the real dirty stuff, like the, just kind of the popular stuff in the presidential campaign, like build a wall.
Yeah.
Like I thought like 10 years ago, we were done with that shit. Like I thought, like I knew there were like border patrol people who were like, we need to build a wall, and it's like, well, then you get started and you pay for it personally. You border patrol people, you get to it if you want it.
That was my favorite meme, by the way, from Trump's visit over to the Middle East, and then the other Middle East apparently, but where he's touching the Wailing Wall, and they captioned it, "Who paid for you?" But
and then like but to me that is such a like. You like to do that in the hopes that like that'll stop any illegal immigration problems. Like you might as well say, like Lewis Black has a joke where he's like, I wanted to build a wall across Canada because that's where the cold air comes from.
Right.
Like you'll stop the weather. Like you have just as good of a shot. So like why? It's just a dumb thing for like fucking morons to like harp on about. Like they, you know, and it fucking our president now is obsessed with it.
Because he's an idiot. But
because
yeah.
Sorry, hot take. Fucking our president's a moron.
He really, really is. Like, it's weird. Like,
yeah,
I've gone through a whole range of. I'll admit, way early on when it was when it was rumored that he might run, I was one of those. He's a businessman. That could be good because like most of us at that time, we really didn't know that much. You knew who he was.
Yeah,
you knew he was rich.
I didn't know. And then I learned he was actually a really bad businessman.
Exactly. And then he opened this big...
To be successful as a businessman, you don't have to be good at it. You just have to find loopholes that fuck other people over.
Right. And then he opens his fucking mouth, and that should have been the deal breaker number one there, because I don't understand how anybody can listen to that man and not walk away going, he is an idiot. Like,
well, he takes whatever idea of whoever talked to him last.
That's
and
true.
It's so frustrating to have a guy like that, and everyone in his ear is like, he's a moron, and the people in his ear are evil
criminal masterminds.
People.
Right.
And some just flat out criminals. They should fucking be in jail. And now we're starting to hear that maybe he should be too. So who knows?
But it's funny to me though that it's like you watch him and he's such an obvious puppet, and everybody seems to see that except him. Like. He is basically the embodiment of like one of my worst nightmares, where like you're at a social event and you're doing something so completely dumb that everybody's like laughing at you behind your back, but you're just so aloof that you have no idea. Right.
Yeah, you drank too much and like you're completely like cut off.
You're walking around with like a giant shit stain on the back of your pants and you have no idea for like the whole day. Or okay, not that, because that, you know, I have some personal hygiene, but you know, that kind of like you're walking around with like a big hole in your pants the whole day, like your whole ass is ripped out of your jeans, and you're the only one in the entire building that doesn't fucking know it. Like that's.
But I love that. I love that independent spirit, because that is what fucks him up every time.
Well, that's
when
true.
He goes off the script. And that's what happened with the FBI thing, where he was like, regardless of what anyone else was saying about it, like he had all his people come out and they said one thing, and then he did that interview and completely contradicted them, and it also put him in a fucking serious hole.
Yes.
And
that's,
so he.
Yeah, I love that.
He wanted to seem like I was gonna do it from the beginning. Okay, that looks so much worse than if you had like taken your time and talked to him. Well,
especially and since decided. Like his people spend their whole entire existence right now trying to spin the totality of things he said into a coherent story. But then he just says whatever the fuck's on the top of his head, even if it contradicts something he said yesterday. And then all his people have to go back into like crisis mode. Like, how can we make this fit into the... Yeah, it's kind of like how I picture they write like Kingdom Hearts games, where somebody just blurts out a line and they're like, fuck, how does this fit in here? But and
the only thing that makes it a little better is like, you know, at the end of Kingdom Hearts they say, all right, now add Mickey, you know, and it's a lot better. If fucking the White House was like Disneyland, then you know that would at least be colorful and fun.
Plus, his presidency wouldn't be coming until like third quarter 2022. But
that's right. That's right. If we didn't, I was actually, you know, it'll never happen because one, we're too traditional in this country to ever do any sort of meaningful change with our government. But I was also thinking, like, after the election, just how useless like a president is and how dangerous the idea of a president is. Like, I understand why people want it, because they want that like singular leadership.
Yeah,
and like they can
kind of need that linchpin, not linchpin, but like that tiebreaker.
See, I don't think you do.
Well, like, I mean, do it like, I think they've got a prime minister too. I was gonna say, do it like England, where, and that's exactly what that would fit Trump perfectly, where he can just parade around.
Would be better.
If we could call him just King Trump, so he could parade around and act like he's all that, but he really has no fucking power whatsoever. That would be perfect. Be like, here you go. Here's
I'm sure he would love it. Yeah, if we had like a royalty. All this time, America bashes England for having like the British royal family, but maybe that's the best thing. Is like, no, we just keep them rich, and then they don't.
Right, you can
us.
Satiate these egomaniacs like Trump. You can say, "Here you go, fine."
We turned them into a
here's your little
attraction.
tiara, but
right.
We'll invite you to certain national events, but like not political meetings.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I'm sorry to like get politics going on the show, but it was inevitable. Really, the world, like the country we live in, it's on the tip of like everybody's mind, and Far Cry was kind of my breaking point, I guess, for this podcast. I think we did a pretty good job staying off it, but when something's so absurdly stupid, like you tends to open a tidal wave of not only is this stupid, all this shit is stupid. Like, but yeah, you know, I won't go down that rabbit hole anymore. But I did have to vent a little bit, so I'm glad we talked about it.
Well, yeah, no, anytime I'm always happy. Like I said, we've avoided politics and podcasts more or less for 5 years, more than 5 years.
If nothing else, it won't hurt our viewership.
But no, so. But I'm always okay taking a few minutes out of our podcast to talk about how dumb Trump is, because I try to make it a point anymore not to like sit and bash people, because it's your time's better spent building up. Like if somebody annoys you, just ignore them and talk about somebody you like. But man, he is an idiot. And I think you have to vent, like you said, because
it's hard to ignore somebody who affects so many people's
lives. That's what I was going to say. That's the problem. Is it's like it's stressful, because it's like, man, this guy's such a buffoon, but he's fucking steering the ship. Like,
yeah. And I'm starting to think, like, you know, it's like a dangerous, like, is what I was saying about, like, maybe we shouldn't have a president, is like, it's a dangerous thing that like any American citizen can get that office if enough people vote for him. Like there's no,
yeah. Or if just like, the right people vote for him, because he didn't even win that.
The right people. Which is also stupid. The Electoral College is a fucking ridiculous, outdated idea. That's a bigger, more urgent thing, I think, than anything.
Sure.
When it comes to our politics, is like there's no reason for it.
As far as I know, that's the only position that they use that system for, too, isn't it? Aren't congressmen and senators and everybody else?
They don't have to use it for other things, because it's like, you know, I guess, I mean, they could do districts and run those like a college, but just do population. And the problem, and the thing people fucking have a problem with is like, oh, but you know, then you're just doing all the fucking people in like the big cities and stuff, and it's like one like, it's not like everyone in a big city is all a fucking Democrat or something, and two, that's where the most people are. Then like they need to like have more of a say than fucking, you know.
Well, yeah, and that's where
a state that's half their size, like it's not, and if more people move to that other state, then you get more voters coming from there, and then just like, one vote per person, and enough of this like fucking red blue map every goddamn 4 years. Well, 2 honestly, but
the other thing that ignore, and that's the lie that they probably, I'm starting to sound like a tinfoil hat person, but people put way too much importance on the president anyway. Like I said, it's very important, and we're kind of fucked right now because of that, but we're also fucked because of our local representatives, which have nothing to do with population densities.
They're way worse.
Right.
That is...
Well, none of the shit that he's trying to do would pass if they didn't have shitty people around him.
Yeah, my... House rep in my district fucking voted for that healthcare thing.
Yeah, ours too.
And I've always hated her. Her name's Kathy McMorris Rogers, and she has 2 last names. That's already a problem. But she has had her fucking position since like 2006 or something, and it's just, she's terrible. She's a horrible person, and she votes for horrible things, and her reasoning for voting for the healthcare thing was vague. She never gave a real answer. And then her son has Downs. Yeah,
that's right. She tried to like act like she identifies with the common. Yeah, it's like your kid's going to get treated no matter what because of who you are and the money that you have.
Yeah, you had the kid while you were in office. You've never struggled for healthcare, and like you're going to cost a lot of people healthcare, or at least help cost a lot of people healthcare, to be like, you have no like actual explanation for it.
Well,
and
if it helps, our rep voted for it too, and he's the same rep that like during the last election cycle was, and he still was under active investigation for accepting a bunch of money from like medical firms to pass laws that benefit medical firms. So that's the kind of fuckers that we have in office.
Whoever runs against Kathy McMorris, if they have any brains, and they don't because they haven't been able to beat her yet, but whoever does should be like licking their lips at like, this is such an easy like fucking vote them out.
Well,
issue.
It would be so much easier if their vote was like
people.
This month, though, because that's the problem too. Is the average person, the average voter's attention span is so fucking short.
Yeah, but I would harp on it like every debate, because like there's so much about like debate decorum in American politics and stuff that's so stupid to me. Where it's like,
you can't bring up the things that I've actually done prior to this debate.
You know what? I'm going to ignore everything you just said because you haven't done any of that in your entire career. How about this thing where you cost, millions of people health insurance? Like, how about you tell us about that vote? Asshole.
Yeah.
And then call him asshole.
Well, yeah.
Because that'll, if we learned anything from Trump, it's that you don't have to be a good person when you're running for an office.
Right.
So I would like to see smart people not like be patient and reasonable with fucking morons and dickheads.
Yeah. But the point there, that's the political lesson for you today, kiddos, is that as important as these big office like things are, pay attention to your local people too. If you were, I heard a lot about people who like didn't vote for president or whatever, and like I'm not one of those people who's like, well, I hope you like Trump now. Like, I understand that election sucked for everyone, and we all had to make up our own mind, and that's what voting is. But I would say, like, regardless of how you feel about president and like those bigger elections, your local elections are way more important to what's going to happen to you and the people around you. Well, none of this shit gets through without your senators and congressmen, and it's way easier to get those shitty ones in there because nobody really paid. And I get it, because we all have other things. I'm not as politically educated as I should be. Most of us aren't, because we have. It's tough. They're complex issues.
And we're in America, like a lot of people don't know, because and I didn't know for a while, because in Washington, voting is so fucking easy. Like if you have an ID, they will send you your ballot. You can drop it off at a library or anywhere really. And that's voting.
Sure.
But a lot of people like to vote is like a fight. Like you have to fucking like struggle to just, use what is like your right. So, even if it's a fight though, it's really important.
Yep.
So,
but it's not as fun as like Bloodborne or
honestly, and when it's all, even when you do everything right and everything's fucked up, play a video game forever. Just to be one of those sad like Twitch streamer stories where you stream for 22 hours and
you just gave me the best fucking idea in the world. Next election cycle, instead of a president, can we do Twitch Plays America? Like,
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
totally. Did you hear about this? My brother was telling me about this. Like, a guy on Twitch did like one of those, like he was trying to do one of those 24-hour marathons, and in that like 22 hours in, he went out to go take a smoke break, and he died. And a lot of people are like, wow, that's sleep deprivation is that dangerous? And sleep deprivation is bad for you. Don't get me wrong.
24 hours is usually not enough to do that though.
No, not usually. And especially if you're planning like a marathon like that, you're usually doing a lot of sleeping and stuff to like kind of prep yourself for it, right. So you're well rested when it starts. But what I found out, and what my brother told me a few days later, is like, yeah, it turns out that guy died of heroin.
Nice.
A heroin overdose. So he didn't just like go up for a smoke break and die of exhaustion. There's other things at play there. So, I mean, it's still tragic, but it's like, yeah, that for a second there, what was an interesting story somehow got a lot more interesting to me on like a personal, like, did he do the heroin on camera? Can he just like, are there people just shooting up on Twitch? Like,
I know at one point that was a problem because I remember them specifically going back through and like clarifying that in their rules of things you can and can't do on stream. I think it was more to do with people smoking pot, but you know, if they were doing, I remember there was couples just using Twitch to like have sex on it because they were exhibitionists and wanted people. It's like, okay, that's not really what Twitch is for. Although it's funny that Twitch banned it because I don't know that a lot of Twitch viewers were complaining. But
what do you mean? It's a creativity channel.
Well, now they got the Twitch in real life, so
yeah, it's I like weird Twitch channels like that where.
Well, like I said, mine is going to be me just like spending 20 minutes literally like scrolling up and down my fucking Steam library going, no, that sounds horrible. That sounds horrible. Why would I want to play that? No. I'll go watch TV. Like that's my normal night of gaming. And it's.
Did you ever redeem that super hot code I gave you?
I think I redeemed it. I haven't played it or installed it, but I'm pretty sure I redeemed it.
Because like. I was going through my games yesterday, and like everything else it says you had, and I was like, I know I sent that to him.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say like your friend also owns this.
Maybe I haven't redeemed it yet, but I need to because that's
wants this game.
Yeah,
you should do that
because it's a game that I've wanted to play. It's like like half of my, and I keep adding. Like yesterday, I added 2 more games to my wish list for some reason.
Yeah, and that would that's why I got it. Is like I just grabbed a game at random off your Steam wish list. But I was just going through my shit. I was like, I know I got him that. Did I send him the code? Or?
Yeah, yep, you did.
All right, so cool. I think I didn't mean for it to turn into the political hour, but
no, that gave us interesting stuff to talk about, and we could feel cultured and intelligent for a week.
That's what sucks is when you realize like I'm really stupid and I'm still like smarter than everyone right now. Where it's like I'm not I can't fix shit, but I'm smart enough to know that like the people we put in charge can't.
And it's like they've always said part of the true wisdom is us knowing that we're not smart enough to know the answers, because that's the scary truth is a lot of people I talk to that are the least educated and the biggest problems are the ones that are dead set sure that they know the solution.
Yeah, and isn't that really just sort of the basic common thread of every like disastrous civilization, which is just shitty leaders, and you wonder like if any of those other people, those people who weren't in charge, if any one of them just had enough confidence to like challenge that and be like, no, I maybe I don't know how to do it, but I definitely can do it better than you. Like, how different would our like humanity's history look? You're like, just one guy is like, you know what? Rome should be a lot fucking better than what it is. Like, why are we feeding people to lions?
This won't sustain itself.
Why do we have lions? This is Rome.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the show. I guess we'll call it that the show. We'll be back probably next week. I don't think I have anything going on. Oh
no. Well, I've got the we can do it next week, but it'll be Thursday. Maybe. Yeah.
Thursday. Some other day, but should be a show next week.
Should be, because I've got things I want to play, so I'll have games to talk about. All the games. Some of the games.
Yeah, so be sure to, see what we have on Twitter and stuff. And
such a good like sales pitch there.
Yeah, I don't know what we do on Twitter anymore. Bitch usually. And then I'm also doing those Alan Wake streams semi-regularly, so twitch.tv/McBizquick.
Or I auto-host you, so if you're too lazy to remember his channel, you can always find it by going to mine first.
I had to turn off auto-hosting, because it was like it wouldn't let me stream if like Andrew or you were streaming something.
That's because we're more important than you. Mine, I've got a handful of people. I've got a handful of people set up on auto host, and it'll terminate that if I try to stream. But weird.
Yeah. That's what it did before. I gotta fidget with shit and figure out what went wrong. Yeah. So right. That's all. That's all to plug. That's all to be.
Have
a good week.